The situation inside the prison has taken a terrifying turn as newly leaked footage shows inmates openly targeting Diddy. Reports confirm that he has been begging for protection after suffering a brutal attack, leaving him shaken and fearing for his life. This shocking revelation has sent social media into a frenzy, with many questioning whether Diddy will even make it out of prison alive. According to multiple insiders, the leaked footage, which has now gone viral, captures the disturbing reality of Diddy's life behind bars. In the clip, several inmates can be seen cornering and taunting him, making it clear that he is not welcome.
Sean Diddy Combs reportedly underwent treatment in a hospital as he continues to await trial on sex trafficking charges. According to Page 6, the 55-year-old was transported from Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, the federal prison where he was sent following his September arrest, late January 30th to undergo an MRI and was then soon returned to police custody later that night. The outlet cites a source as saying that the medical scan was authorized because his knee was bothering him. E! News has reached out to reps for Diddy and the Federal Bureau of Prisons for comment and has not heard back. The Grammy winner's attorney, Mark Agnafilo, tells TMZ, quote, "I cannot comment on anything related to prisoner movements. Also, I'm not commenting on anything related to possible medical issues." Diddy had shared in a since-deleted Instagram post in 2017 that he had undergone his third knee surgery in a year. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has neither confirmed nor denied the reports about Diddy's hospital visit.
Witnesses claim that tensions had been rising for weeks, and this violent encounter was inevitable. Some reports suggest that prison gangs have specifically marked Diddy as a high-value target, leaving him isolated and vulnerable. Sources inside the prison claim that Diddy pleaded with guards for extra security, but his requests were reportedly ignored. It is unclear whether the administration is deliberately turning a blind eye or if they simply do not have the resources to protect him. However, with leaked footage now exposing the growing threats against him,
the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker.
pressure is mounting for authorities to take action before things spiral even further out of control. According to insider sources, Diddy was attacked earlier this week by a group of inmates who allegedly targeted him due to his high-profile status and the serious allegations against him. The leaked footage, obtained by a prison insider, shows Diddy being surrounded and assaulted in the prison yard. The video captures the terrifying moment when Diddy is seen pleading with the inmates, saying, "Please, just leave me alone. I don't want any trouble."
So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on suicide watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it.
Despite his pleas, the attack continued, leaving Diddy with visible injuries, including bruises and cuts. Legal experts believe that this latest attack could have serious consequences for Diddy's case. Some argue that his legal team might use this as evidence to request an emergency transfer to a more secure facility. Others speculate that prosecutors may claim this is just part of prison life and that Diddy is not entitled to special treatment. Will this latest development help or hurt his chances in court? Social media has erupted with debate over the leaked footage.
To keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch. Another error that I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem, why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, drug dealers, rapists with white collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out. They'll just kill the guy, no questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Hashtags like Protect Diddy and Diddy in Danger are trending, with fans demanding that authorities intervene before it's too late. On the other hand, critics are claiming that this is just karma catching up to him, arguing that Diddy's past actions have led him to this moment. The public remains deeply divided, but one thing is certain: his situation is becoming more dangerous by the day. Adding to the chaos, rumors are now swirling that prison staff may have intentionally allowed the footage to leak.
Diddy leaves the Metropolitan Detention Center jail in Brooklyn. New reports say he was taken to the hospital for a few hours last week to get an MRI. We're just now learning about this though because Diddy was taken from the jail late at night, actually using the cover of darkness to keep his trip on the down low. So what do we know about this trip? We're gonna go through everything we know so far, plus a little more. We're actually gonna sit down with Dr. D. Wayne Hendricks, a former corrections officer and deputy warden at MDC, the very jail Diddy's being held at right now. But before we get into all of that, here's a quick recap of how we got here. In September of last year, Diddy was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Those charges came down after multiple civil suits against Diddy were already filed.
Some insiders believe that this is part of a larger conspiracy to expose what's really happening behind bars. If true, this could lead to serious legal consequences for those involved. Could this be the beginning of a much bigger scandal? Meanwhile, Diddy's family is said to be in complete distress over the situation. Reports indicate that his legal team is scrambling behind the scenes, pushing for immediate intervention before another attack occurs. Some sources claim that they are even considering suing the prison system for failing to protect him.
A person close to him apparently said, quote, "Spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him." If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, "He eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it." This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay.
Will their efforts be enough to keep him safe? Or is it already too late? Social media has exploded with reactions to the leaked footage, with hashtags like Diddy begs for protection and Ish prison attack trending worldwide. Fans of the music mogul are expressing outrage and concern, calling for better protection for Diddy while he's behind bars. Many are questioning how someone as high profile as Diddy could be left so vulnerable in prison. At the same time, critics are pointing to the attack as a stark reminder of the consequences of his alleged actions, with some saying he's facing the reality of his choices. The music industry is also weighing in on the controversy.
After his arrest in New York, Diddy was booked at MDC. Back then, we took a deep dive into MDC's conditions, but they're really worth revisiting. Following Diddy's arrest, his attorney Mark Agnifilo immediately sounded the alarm on MDC. arguing there are some major issues with the jail, citing violence, poor conditions, overcrowding, and even staffing issues. He also cited some startling statistics. 2 inmates have been killed at MDC since June, and at least 4 inmates have died by suicide over the past 3 years. On top of that, 6 staff members have been charged with crimes over the past 5 years. Even with all these questionable stats, it's still common for defendants to be housed at MDC after their arrest, as they're awaiting trial in either Manhattan or Brooklyn. And the jail is no stranger to high-profile inmates either. MDC famously housed R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Sam Bankman-Fried, who's actually there right now.
Several high-profile figures have taken to social media to voice their opinions, with some calling for urgent action while others are staying silent. Could this latest incident further divide the entertainment world? Or will it spark a bigger conversation about prison conditions for high-profile inmates? As the investigation into the attack continues, one major question remains. Who is behind this leaked footage, and why was it released now? Some speculate that inmates filmed it as a warning.
For some time, that's where Diddy was, the SHU, or the secure housing unit. But in recent days, he's been moved to general population, and that's where these new reports come from. Diddy has allegedly befriended some of his fellow inmates, who have apparently started helping him out with tasks like making his bed or cleaning his cell. Prosecutors allege Diddy is also using the phone accounts belonging to some of these other inmates. They say Diddy knows his phone line is being monitored, so by using the other phone lines, he hopes to keep his conversations private. According to court docs, Diddy is partaking in unauthorized three-way calls as a way to send hundreds of texts, and some of these messages are apparently going to people on Diddy's no-contact list. The feds say Diddy has used the accounts of at least 8 other inmates, but they say he's doing more than that. They allege Diddy is also trying to corruptly influence witness testimony and taint the jury pool from behind bars.
While others believe that prison officials may have allowed it to be leaked to control the narrative. Whatever the truth may be, it's clear that Diddy is in serious danger, and time is running out. Let's take a closer look at how this story unfolded. Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs, was arrested and charged earlier this year following a series of allegations that have rocked the music industry. The charges range from workplace harassment to more serious claims of abuse, and the case has been one of the most closely watched legal battles in recent memory.
One of the latest complaints we've seen was filed on February 13th. Similar to a lot of Busby clients, this one was filed by an anonymous client, so we only know her as Jane Doe. According to the complaint, this Jane Doe now lives in Florida, but says she met Diddy back around 1999. At the time, she says she was a 23-year-old model and promotional employee for a radio station. She attended a VIP party hosted by Diddy, who likely was going by Puff or Puffy at the time. At that event, she was introduced to the then Puffy by another guest. She says Diddy talked to her about work over a couple drinks. Later that evening, Jane Doe says she told Diddy she needed to catch her train so she wouldn't be stranded. But she says Diddy invited her to stay at his place to have another drink. According to her complaint, Diddy convinced Jane Doe to stay at his place but assured her that nothing inappropriate would happen and she could leave in the morning. Jane Doe says she told Diddy she was married and she wouldn't fool around, so the two left. But she began to realize something was wrong. According to the complaint, she started to get drowsy, said it was hard for her to remain upright, and she suspected she was drugged.
Diddy has consistently denied the allegations, calling them false and defamatory. But his life in prison has become a focal point of the ongoing drama. New reports indicate that Diddy has been placed under constant surveillance, with guards now monitoring his every move to prevent another violent encounter. However, sources inside the prison claim that this has only made things worse, as inmates believe he is receiving special treatment and are becoming even more hostile. With tensions rising, prison officials may have no choice but to remove Diddy from the general population before another incident occurs.
Once Jane Doe was in the bed, she claims Diddy became aggressive. He tried to take her clothes off and pressured her to engage in sexual activity. She said she refused repeatedly and reminded him she's married. But according to the complaint, Diddy became visibly angry at her resisting and tried to remove her clothes himself, despite her objecting. Now remember how I mentioned she texted her husband his address she saw from the mail in his car? Well, she told Diddy she texted her husband the address. And while she says Diddy took a beat, it was only temporarily. He then kept groping her and attempting to initiate sexual acts. She claims for 4 hours, Diddy subjected her to continuous unwanted touching and groping of her breasts in private and even went further. Now, according to the court filing, eventually whatever drug she believed she ingested began to wear off, and then she regained enough strength to insist on leaving Diddy's home and demand he call her a cab. While she still felt the effects of the substance, Jane Doe says she left his home emotionally shaken and physically impaired, as well as shocked by what had happened.
The leaked footage, which was reportedly recorded by a prison security camera, reveals the harsh and dangerous conditions Diddy is facing behind bars. In the video, he is seen trying to defend himself as inmates taunt and physically assault him. The attack is said to have been fueled by rumors and allegations circulating within the prison, with inmates viewing Diddy as a symbol of corruption and privilege. Friends and associates of Diddy have been quick to express their outrage, calling the situation unacceptable and inhumane.
You know, depending on when the alleged incidents happened, the statute of limitations may be coming up as early as March. And of course, if these complaints aren't filed before then, they lose them. Talking about a window that's been open under New York City law. Previously, it was New York State. And unless you file within that window, you're prevented from ever filing.
And just going off of that, you know, I remember back in October when Tony Buzbee held that press conference saying that he had more than 100 accusers ready to file lawsuits against Diddy. Why do you think, you know, there's this kind of rush, it feels like, to file complaint after complaint after complaint all before that March 1st deadline? How much are you surprised by the timing of it instead of just kind of trickling it out? I mean, I guess he has been doing that as well, too. But are you surprised more so that so many are coming day after day after day?
I'm not surprised, Elizabeth, and this is why.
They argue that Diddy, despite the allegations against him, deserves to be treated with basic human dignity and protected from harm. Legal experts are now debating whether Diddy's legal team could use this latest attack as grounds to argue for an early release or at least a transfer to protective custody. Some believe that the mounting threats against him could be enough to convince a judge that his life is in immediate danger. Others argue that this is simply part of life in prison, and that Diddy is no different from any other inmate who must learn to survive behind bars.
And he alleges that he believes that he was raped by Combs. And he doesn't quite remember what happened because he would wake up allegedly in this disoriented state after being what he thinks drugged, but he believes he was raped. And this is also interesting when we're talking about sex trafficking and the other claims in this lawsuit. He claims that many times he was consistently underpaid by Combs, but on the occasions when he woke up thinking that he was raped by Combs, he claims he was paid a substantially larger amount of money. But this takes another turn. John Doe also claims that he discovered a hidden camera and that Combs admitted to him that he recorded him engaging in sexual activity and threatened to release the tapes if John Doe didn't do what he wanted. That Combs allegedly made statements such as, "I can change your life in a second and make you a millionaire overnight, but I have means and ways of taking care of things."
New footage has also surfaced, showing guards rushing to break up a violent altercation involving Diddy and multiple inmates. Reports claim that he was seen being dragged away by prison staff, appearing visibly shaken. Some sources claim that Diddy has refused to speak to investigators about the attack, fearing that any cooperation could make him an even bigger target. If true, this could make it even harder for his legal team to argue for better protection. However, others close to the case suggest that Diddy's struggles in prison are a direct result of his alleged actions and the notoriety surrounding his case.
During the next 2 years, plaintiff made repeated attempts to distance himself from Combs. Each time they spoke on the phone, plaintiff experienced intense anxiety with his heart racing, yet Combs refused to accept no for an answer. Combs used threats to exert control, warning plaintiff, "You're not loyal. Who are you going to tell about all of this? Don't forget, I have tapes of you." Plaintiff found himself trapped in an abusive cycle from which he felt he could not escape. Plaintiff's last encounter with Combs was in or around November 2012, close to the time that plaintiff got married. Plaintiff hoped that his marriage would serve as a boundary that Combs would respect. Yet, Combs continued to call persistently for months, pressuring plaintiff to return. John Doe claims he wanted to come forward about all of this sooner, but he was very scared that he and his family would be harmed. An important part in any litigation where someone is claiming that they were abused years prior is, why didn't you come forward sooner? So that's a question that plaintiff will face. But John Doe explains in this complaint that when Cassie Ventura, Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend,
Legal experts weigh in, suggesting that the attack could have serious implications for Diddy's legal battle. potentially swaying public opinion and even influencing the judge's decision. At the same time, prison authorities are facing intense scrutiny for failing to protect Diddy from such threats. Meanwhile, new rumors suggest that rival factions within the prison may be involved in orchestrating these attacks. Some insiders claim that certain groups see Diddy as a financial opportunity, pressuring him to pay for protection in exchange for safety.
Claims on October 3rd, 2024, so this is after Combs was arrested in New York and indicted on federal charges. John Doe claims, quote, an individual representing Combs reached out to plaintiff to insist on an in-person meeting, further intensifying plaintiff's fear for his safety. But Combs' recent arrest and the subsequent denials of his bail applications provided plaintiff with a small measure of comfort and protection, conferring on him newfound confidence that Combs would remain incarcerated and thus be less likely to release the videotapes or otherwise harm him. By the way, that argument, as we've already seen, is why you're seeing a lot more lawsuits coming out against Sean Combs after his arrest, his indictment, after he had been denied bail, that people feel safe to come forward. Again, these are allegations. They're not true. These are allegations. We'll have to see if they can be proven. But again, can be used as a justification for why they are filing their lawsuits now. It's at least an argument that will be put forward.
Could this entire situation be a calculated move to extort him while he's at his most vulnerable? This isn't just a story about Diddy. It's about the broader issues of safety and accountability within the prison system. The attack has sparked important conversations about how high-profile inmates are treated and whether the system is equipped to protect them. Some are calling for reforms to ensure that all prisoners, regardless of their status, are kept safe from harm. Others argue that Diddy's situation is a consequence of his alleged actions and that he must face the realities of prison life.
One's device, not Sean Combs, so the idea that he kept these videos as collateral or blackmail as a form of power and control over victim one doesn't hold water. And basically they asked the court to amend the protective order that has been put in place in this case to allow the prosecutors to turn these tapes over to the defense. This was an order from the court that dictated how information would be disclosed and shared and disseminated by the defense and prosecution. And as the defense called out in their letter to the judge, the protective order made this video evidence, again, allegedly of the freak-offs, quote, available for inspection only and not electronically produced. They said, court, you need to amend this. We deserve the tapes. And they also argued, by the way, that we need these videos, we need copies of these, because they said that the audio on the tapes, you can barely hear it, and the lighting is very bad, that the images are dark and grainy. So we need our own experts, our own defense experts, to enhance the quality and analyze the metadata.
The entertainment world continues to react to this unfolding drama, with some of Diddy's closest associates reportedly cutting ties to avoid being dragged into the controversy. Others have come forward in support, demanding that prison authorities be held accountable for allowing such a dangerous situation to unfold. Could this divide among his former allies impact his ability to fight back against these allegations? As the case continues to unfold, one question looms large. What's next for Diddy?
So, look, this issue may be revisited if they really can't figure out a way to make all of this work. And look, it's not surprising that the judge just won't allow the defense copies of these tapes and amend the protective order. I mean, essentially, we're talking about sex tapes, right? Key pieces of evidence in this case. It's very private, very sensitive. Got to be careful about how this is handled. And let's not forget, Sean Combs is in hot water right now. He was denied bail, again, partly because he was accused of violating the Bureau of Prisons rules by improperly using other inmates' phone access numbers, improperly contacting people, and allegedly trying to reach out to victims and witnesses while he's locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Can he and his team be trusted with copies of these videos? Now, to be clear, the judge didn't say that in his order, but you have to wonder if that is ultimately a point of consideration in not handing these tapes over to Sean Combs and his team.
Will the attack lead to changes in his prison conditions? Or will he continue to live in fear? And how will this incident impact his legal case and public image? For now, all eyes are on the prison system and the courtroom as the world waits to see how this story will unfold. As pressure mounts, prison officials are being forced to reassess their security measures, with some sources claiming that they are now considering moving Diddy to a different facility. However, the question remains, will this actually make him safer, or will it only make him a bigger target in an unfamiliar environment?
This complainant looks like the two Jane Does I mentioned in this story. Their allegations are seemingly connected. This Jane Doe claims another assault happened in the late 90s at the Limelight nightclub. Then she and her friend were taken to the Trump Hotel and allegedly were forced to participate in the group's sex activity. And it's the same scenario as the other Jane Doe. Now, Diddy, through his attorneys, denied these allegations. In a statement, they said, quote, "As we said before, Mr. Combs cannot respond to every new publicity stunt, even in response to claims that are facially ridiculous or demonstrably false. Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts and the integrity of the judicial process. In court, the truth will prevail that Mr. Combs never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor." I'm joined now by criminal defense attorney Safa Robinson Ferrer. Safa, always great to see you. Now, Tony Busby's law firm has filed more suits against Diddy. What's your reaction? A lot of these claims are terrible: non-consensual group sexual activity, allegations of rape by Diddy's associates.
With every passing hour, more details continue to emerge, and the world remains glued to the latest updates. Diddy's fate is now more uncertain than ever. And with mounting threats, legal battles, and growing speculation, the situation is spiraling out of control. Will he be able to survive the dangers of prison life, or is this just the beginning of a terrifying downfall? One thing is for sure, this story is far from over. What do you think? Was this attack a setup? Or is Diddy truly in danger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest breaking news. We'll see you in the next video.